Senior editor at large at Newsweek, Josh Hammer, joins us now. Josh, great to speak with you. It is day one and US President Donald Trump is moving at speed to carry out his agenda. Trump has signed a record number of executive actions after being sworn in as America's 47th president. Here he is.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. Today, I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate. We will tariff and tax foreign countries, immediately stop all government censorship, and bring back free speech to America. It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
He's not slowing down, is he? Look, this is why Americans voted for him. He gets things done. There's so much to unpack, but what do you make about the executive orders?
Yeah, it's hard to know where to start, to be honest with you. I guess I'll start with the lattermost thing there, which is the end of gender ideology, the end of radical LGBT indoctrination in the federal government. This is a tremendous, tremendous achievement there. I kind of go back to the final few months of the first Trump administration when my friend Chris Rufo was trying to get an executive order passed that would ban DEI in the entire federal government. So now it's only fitting that he's beginning his second term with a ban on transgender ideology in the federal government there. Look, the immigration stuff, though, kind of getting out of kind of the cultural issues, the immigration stuff is really kind of bread and butter Trumpism, right? I mean, when you think of Trump, when you think of MAGA, there is no MAGA. There is no Donald Trump as president of the United States. There is no America First movement if it is not for the immigration issue. So it was only fitting also that he come out swinging really hard on the immigration issue, which he has done so far in the first 12 to 24 hours or so. He's coming out swinging with Remain in Mexico, putting back what was bang for your buck, the most effective pro-border security executive order that he did the first time around. That was Remain in Mexico. He is ending bogus asylum and refugee resettlement claims. He is invoking Title 42 to shut down the border for all would-be illegal aliens there. He's doing a lot on his signature issue. I'm waiting for even more to happen, frankly. I'm expecting a big executive order on the very thorny question of birthright citizenship for illegal aliens here over the next 24 to 36 hours. It could be happening quite imminently. That's really gonna set the liberals off here. It's probably ultimately gonna wind its way to the United States Supreme Court one way or the other there. But he had no choice but to come out swinging on his issue. Look, Gabriella, he had 4 years in the political wilderness. He had 4 years to study and to learn what last time didn't necessarily go wrong, but at least didn't go quite according to plan there. And he surrounded himself by a lot of very, very smart, capable people, a lot of young people. J.D. Vance himself is a very good example of that there. He is ready to kick some leftist butt this time around. And fundamentally, I think that he is going to make great strides towards pulling America out of this abyss. I cannot wait to see how these next 4 years unfold.
Oh, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? And just looking at some of the executive actions. So there's directing designations of cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, also taking action to return federal workers to in-person work. He says he's going to end the weaponization of the federal government, restore freedom of speech, and end federal censorship. And to pick up on a key point that I know is getting shared widely across social media because people are excited to see this one, to suspend the security clearances for the 51 national security officials who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop ahead of the 2020 presidential election. What do you make of that?
I think it's brilliant stuff. Look, I mean, this fundamentally is the kind of thing that Donald Trump was elected to do. I mean, when you run on a platform of drain the swamp, which has been Donald Trump's #1 campaign trail mantra ever since his first campaign, very much including his second campaign, or I guess his third campaign, but his second winning campaign this time around. When you elect someone who campaigns on a platform of drain the swamp, you should expect him to go in there and to actually drain the swamp. There was a famous early 20th century American newspaper columnist and social critic by the name of H.L. Mencken. And he had this famous quote that I'm going to paraphrase, so I don't have it memorized quite verbatim, but he basically said that democracy is the theory that the common man knows what he wants and he deserves to get it good and hard. That's what's happening right now. The left claims that they are for democracy. They claim on the one hand that Donald Trump is a fascist. He's a threat to democracy. They purport to be for democracy. Well, they're getting a very strong dose of it right now because he's getting in there and he is giving the people what they want. And, these sort of more brazen brass knuckle tactics, removing security clearance for these deep state spooks. This is exactly what he was put in there to do. His base loves this, but more generally speaking, the median American, the swing voter, they hate the fact that big tech and the FBI and all those actors colluded to try to deprive the 2020 election from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. So this is really not just a play for the base. It's a play, I think, in many ways for the median American as well. It's brilliant stuff. It's the kind of stuff that only Trump, frankly, can do.
I suppose it really highlights the contrast between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, because it wasn't surprising, but I think still shocking to see Joe Biden today issuing unprecedented pardons for his family, former COVID advisor Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, and the politicians on the January 6th committee, which probed Trump's role in the insurrection. Now, Anthony Fauci is insisting that he did not commit any crimes. He told ABC News, "I truly appreciate the action President Biden has taken today on my behalf, but let me be perfectly clear, I have committed no crime. You know that, and there are no possible grounds for any allegation or threat of criminal investigation or prosecution of me." It's just hard to believe. If Anthony Fauci had any honesty or integrity and there was truly nothing to hide, he could have refused the pardon.
Well, this whole final stanza, I guess you would say, of the Biden presidency was simply astonishing. Simply incredible in the worst possible sense of the term. So Joe Biden said that in many ways you had to elect Democrats, whether it was him or Kamala Harris this cycle, because the other guy, Donald Trump, was going to shatter every quote unquote norm that has ever existed in the history of the American Republic there. How many norms is Joe Biden just completely shattering on his very sorry and sordid way out the door? From pardoning his own son, Hunter Biden, who he repeatedly, dozens, if not hundreds of times, vowed time and time again that he would never pardon him here, to Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, the Biden family itself. Those pardons of Biden's family members, including his brother Jim Biden, he pardoned 5 or 6 close Biden family members there 15 minutes before Donald Trump put his hand on the Bible and took the oath of office. Are you kidding me? I mean, who does that? I mean, it's astonishing stuff here. It's the kind of stuff that I'm a lawyer. I'm telling you, we have never seen these kind of pardons on the way out the door. He also pardoned a horrific cop killer by the name of Peltier, Leon Peltier, going back to the 1970s. He killed 2 FBI cops on an Indian reservation in South Dakota. He's been in prison for a half century now. They're disgusting stuff, all to try to throw a sop to his various intersectional constituency wings on his way out the door, still not getting the message, even as he is getting his butt kicked out of Washington, D.C. there. History is going to judge his presidency, Gabriella, extraordinarily harshly. And I frankly suspect that you're not going to see Joe Biden for a very, very long time. It actually wouldn't shock me, frankly, if you don't see him again until his funeral.
Good riddance to Joe Biden as president of the United States. He was voted out, and the Democrats were voted out for a reason. And in a sign of the times that the times are really changing, President Trump announced that he's going to reinstate service members who were discharged for refusing the COVID vaccine, along with payback, or back pay, I should say. Let's take a look.
This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay.
Even if people chose to get the vaccine, I think that message really resonates with a lot of Americans, because we all endured those awful years during COVID where, we didn't have freedom of speech. People were losing their jobs because they were refusing to get the vaccine. And for Donald Trump to say that message, I think it's really saying that I see you and I hear you and things are going to be different.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's saying. It's saying multiple things. One is it's saying something very important to the actual United States military service members themselves, which is that because this is a new commander in chief, someone who's going to look out after your your well-being, your welfare, you troops there, unlike the previous guy who put in these ham-fisted rules of engagement. He was preventing American soldiers overseas from trying to get the job done against the various enemies America faces there. And yes, when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine, Donald Trump is doing the right thing here as well. Look, if there's one thing that I think the COVID era in America has really taught, it is that COVID it was a virus in its own right, but it was taken then, it was twisted and manipulated, and it was turned into a weaponized two-tier implementation device. What I mean by that is they turned things like the COVID-19 into a two-tier system of justice here in America. If you think back to what Hillary Clinton said about Trump supporters back in 2016, that they were deplorables, you think back to what Barack Obama said in 2008, that they were so-called bitter clingers, they basically took the issue of COVID vaccination status there, and then they exploited that to say that if you were unvaccinated, then you were a deplorable who was not worth getting a platform access right in social media, or maybe you weren't even worth getting a bank account in your local bank there. If you're a service member, you're not worth getting pay. Heck, you're just going to be discharged there. They exploited the COVID stuff time and time and time again. And again, Donald Trump, who's surrounded by a lot of people who totally get it on the COVID-19 issue, including his son, Donald Trump Jr. there, they've been right on that issue from day one there. He's doing the right thing here as well. You love to see it. It's retribution. Frankly, it's also just good old-fashioned justice as well.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you know, we hear Donald Trump saying that today, and it's the day that Anthony Fauci gets a preemptive pardon. I mean, you can't make that up, can you? But it's amazing to see the Trump effect in action. Yesterday, we saw the wonderful news about the first 3 hostages being returned to families in Israel. And now we've also heard from Russian President Vladimir Putin. He says that he's ready to discuss peace with Ukraine with President Trump. This is what he's had to say.
Open for dialogue with the new US administration on the Ukrainian conflict. The most important thing here is to eliminate the fundamental reason for the conflict. That's the most important. And as for settling the situation itself, its goal should be not a brief ceasefire, not just getting some time to regroup and rearm and carry on the conflict, but long-term peace.
Look, Donald Trump has made a pretty big promise vowing to end the war. What do you make of this message, though, from Putin?
Look, hard to say exactly what he has in mind here when he's talking for an off-ramp here, but I do think that Donald Trump is going to bring peace to that conflict and end to that conflict sooner rather than later. The problem with Joe Biden's approach to that conflict is that it never wavered from day one, is that his mantra was that you basically are just going to keep on sending endless sums of money to Ukraine in hopes that they will, essentially fight and die until the very last Ukrainian, until Vladimir Zelensky is able to recover every square inch of Ukrainian territory, including the Crimean Peninsula, the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine, you name it. The issue all along has been that from an American national security perspective, frankly, from an America First perspective there, I'm not entirely sure that is the exact calculus. Does America truly have a compelling national interest concern in exactly how this border in eastern Ukraine is drawn, this border that has shifted lines hundreds, if not thousands of times over the centuries, these towns that are oftentimes 50-50 split, linguistic, cultural, Russians and Ukrainians there? I'll be honest with you, Gabrielle, I have said since day one that I actually don't feel super strongly exactly how that line is divided. I suspect that Donald Trump feels quite similarly. The American taxpayer has been on the hook tremendously. All while along, we have been at risk of fomenting a potentially disastrous conflict. The Russian Federation has had for many decades now, and still to this day has, the world's largest nuclear arsenal. That's a big deal. So Vladimir Putin is now signaling that he sees Trump, he sees someone who is not necessarily quote unquote pro-Russia. That's the whole Russia collusion delusion nonsense from the 2016 election. But Donald Trump is a practical, sober, hard-headed realist. He sees someone that he can probably make a deal with there. That is a huge deal. Now, look, Trump has said in the past, give me one day with Putin and Zelensky, I'll get you a deal there. I'm not sure he'll get it done in one day. That strikes me as kind of quintessential Trumpian braggadocio. But, maybe it's not one day, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month, whatever. I do think it's going to get done sooner rather than later there. And what a tremendous sea change that would be in that part of the world.
Yeah, and I just think, you hear comments like that and you see that global leaders look at Donald Trump, a bit scared of him. Donald Trump warned Hamas that there would be all hell to pay, and then all of a sudden a deal is signed. Look, I do want to talk to you about what is going on in DC today, this historic day, and I want to talk to you about Barron Trump, because there are already articles that he was the one that stole the show. Barron Trump caused a bit of a frenzy at the Capital One Arena, with the crowd chanting his name as he took to the stage to sit with his family. The younger son of Donald Trump, who towers over his parents at more than 2 meters tall, appeared a bit surprised by the crowd's reaction when he made the appearance, but there's already talk that Barron could be following in his father's footsteps one day. What do you think?
I think I've heard many crazier ideas, frankly. Apparently, Barron Trump has actually been quite involved in the transition team over the course of the past few months there. He was pretty involved on the campaign itself, the Trump campaign, if I'm not mistaken there. Look, he's tall, he's handsome, he's apparently very smart, he's astute. You know, he's also 18 years old. So I believe he's starting his freshman year of college, or he's in his freshman year now. I mean, give the kid some time. I mean, you know, let's let him try to at least have something remotely resembling a normal young adult life before we're trying to thrust him into the public limelight. But you know, if he wants to have a political career, I think that he certainly has all the chips lined up for it there. You know, whether it's him, whether it's Donald Trump Jr., whether it's Lara Trump, there are a lot of members of the Trump family that after Donald Trump Sr. inevitably rides off into the sunset at some point, there are a lot of members of the Trump family who I think potentially stand fit to kind of carry on that legacy. Maybe Ivanka Trump. I don't think she wants it, to be honest with you there. But we could do a heck of a lot worse than Barron Trump, because again, he really has, by all accounts, had his hand involved in a lot of things, very much including Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, just generally trying to kind of bring the Trump campaign to Gen Z, when it comes to social media, things like that there. So he's done very, very good work so far. Again, very tall, good looking, mature looking young guy. Let's give him some years there, but it would not shock me if he runs for office sometime down the road.
Yeah, watch this space. Now, Donald Trump has brought plenty of energy to DC, and he's made the village people cool again. Here are the original singers of YMCA on stage performing with President Trump.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Fun to stay at the YMCA.
Oh, it's the weekend to bust out the Trump moves. Have you been doing it?
You know, Gabrielle, the funny thing about Trump is that he's become cool. I mean, he's become a cultural icon. MAGA has become the new cool. I mean, Carrie Underwood singing America the Beautiful at the inauguration here. At the executive ball in Washington, D.C., you had not just Jason Aldean, the country music star, but you also had Nelly, the former rapper there. I mean, go back to the first time around, whether it was Kanye West, Lil Wayne, there were a bunch of rappers last time there. I mean, here when it comes to American football, we're in the middle of the playoffs now. It feels like every other game there's someone doing the Trump dance in the end zone after getting a touchdown there. I mean, this has become the new cool. It's funny how that worked, because Barack Obama kind of put in this era where the Democratic Party was the party of cool and hip, and all the young people, the college students there, they were out there for hope and change, and Barack Obama and all that there. But after 16 years, and 12 of those years being the failures of Barack Obama and Joe Biden and the broader Obama-Biden legacy, you know, Trump is the new cool. MAGA is the new cool. MAGA is the new countercultural. It's really quite wild. It's only happened, Gabrielle, I think, over the last maybe year and a half, 2 years at the most. It's a fairly recent thing. I suspect that many of the Democrats' gambits, including the unprecedented lawfare against Donald Trump, have backfired so much in their face that not only is Donald Trump president, but at this point, he is a bona fide cultural icon as well.
He absolutely is. And I'll tell you who's not an icon, Joe Biden. Let's look at this final grab of him. We're not going to be doing this for much longer, because we're not going to be getting these cringe grabs to play for you. But here he is, looking lost as he ends his presidency.
Thank you. Can I go up this way?
You know, of course, that's how he ends his presidency. Has no clue where he is, which way to go, how to walk off the stage. It's so embarrassing. Thank God this Biden administration is over.
Yeah, I think if you had to encapsulate the Biden presidency in one video, that's a pretty good video to use. I mean, this doddering old man probably doesn't even know what day of the week it is, beyond the fact that it ends in the letter Y. I mean, he stares at the camera and says, which way do I go? I mean, proverbially speaking, he's been asking which way do I go since he got into power there, because in retrospect, and now funny how that works, the mainstream media here, the Wall Street Journal, had a very, very lengthy tell-all piece. Now we know that basically since Joe Biden came into power in the year 2021, he has been losing his mental faculties. And this is now it's not even a secret. I mean, it's not even an open secret at this point. It's just out there. It's just out there. Everyone knows. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, just a few days ago was chatting with Barry Weiss in D.C. before the inauguration. And Mike Johnson was describing this meeting that he had with Joe Biden at the White House, where he asked Joe Biden why he signed into an executive order a ban on exporting LNG, liquefied natural gas, to Europe. And Biden apparently paused and stared and was like, what did I sign? Like he actually did not know what was in this very important thing that he signed there. So, I mean, look, he has been out of it for basically his entire presidency. To the extent that he has been in it, he has been a venal, corrupt, cynical, self-dealing, and just generally completely incompetent and feckless president. Easily one of the 5 worst presidents in American history there.
Absolutely.
And cherry on top, Gabriella, the final thing I'll say, he could have done a small, tiny thing at the very end to mitigate the damage a little bit if he had just dropped out of the race sooner. But no, he made us all wait until the infamous June 27th CNN debate this past summer there, where the whole world saw that this charade was up, the game was over, and that Joe Biden was really out to lunch. He didn't go out with any dignity. He didn't go out with any class there. And again, history is going to remember him very, very poorly because of it.
Absolutely. Senior Editor at Large at Newsweek, Josh Hammer, so good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us on Power Hour.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle.